Hello there, people of the internet. So I don't really know how to start off this topic for this video, but there's been several instances, me being a gun guy and a content creator, I've had a ton of different people that I talk to. Many of them are, people where if I say something to them, I'm preaching to the choir, but many of them are people who have views and beliefs that are different than my own. And the people with these views and beliefs that are different than my own, they're all entitled to their own opinion, but a lot of what I see with a lot of these views are completely hypocritical and make absolutely zero sense whatsoever. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that. Let's get on board with that. One of the things that I'd like to talk about is there's a lot of people out there who are just absolutely not okay with anybody owning guns, and I get that, and this is probably not the crowd of people where I'm going to find very many, people like that, but I absolutely understand why somebody would be against anybody owning guns. Well, there's the world that they live in, and then there's the reality of the world that we all live in. And the reality of the world that we all live in is, there's people out there that are bad people, and they will look to do you harm. And having yourself a firearm of some sort to be able to defend yourself with is absolutely going to be the great equalizer of whatever situation it is that you come across, especially if you have somebody who is dramatically outclassing you in terms of strength, speed, capability, knowledge, insert your choice of outclassing situation here. If they outclass you and you cannot defend yourself normally without one of these, then guess what? Hey, having one of these, it does not matter how big or fast or scary or intimidating they are now, put a couple of holes inside of that bastard and he's going to end up dropping. So yeah, definitely, there's definitely some perks to having yourself some sort of firearm to be able to defend yourself if you find yourself in a situation that you have to defend yourself. Well, the people that are against gun ownership, I find that many of them don't like gun ownership, and they give me all these reasons why, like way too violent, Americans shouldn't have guns because I said so, because I feel like it. They give their, I'm not going to go into the rhetoric because that's just going to fire me up and get me down a long large hole, a long tangent. So insert your choice of anti-gun propaganda here, but they go through these reasons and these rationales behind why they think nobody should have guns. And yet these same people, I have seen this on numerous occasions, are not a peace and love type of person. They are the type of people to be like, hey, if you question my ego, if you question my pride, if you make me second guess my decisions, I will kick your teeth in. I'm the type of person to where you don't want to mess with. These people they will definitely defend their position like way beyond what it is that they actually should have. They should defend their position with. More often than not, these are the type of people to act like they are being physically assaulted if somebody is simply talking to them or bringing up something that is different than the belief that they actually have. So these people, they thrive off of violence, but they are against guns simply for the sake of wanting to avoid violence. And that's one of those things that I do not understand. And it is a legitimate thrive off of violence. Whenever it comes to these people and their want to avoid things like this, they will talk about using other means to protect themselves, whether or not it's a baseball bat or a sword or a knife or Molotov cocktails or hairspray and a lighter for a flamethrower or mustard gas or some sort of other chemical agent that they can use, or a vehicle, or just get creative, right? I've heard all of the stories. They will tell me about how it is that they're going to protect themselves, or how it is that they're going to tear somebody apart if they have to get around to doing that. And yeah, that's one of those hypocritical situations where I'm like, if you are fine with, bashing somebody side to side with a baseball bat, but having a gun is a little bit too much, then you might want to reconsider your stances, because putting a hole or two in them from this right here is going to be a lot easier of a situation, a lot less violent of a situation than having to physically defend yourself against somebody for whatever purpose with something like a baseball bat or other blunt objects. That's definitely going to be a far worse situation than just putting a round or two inside of them. Or lighting somebody on fire with your makeshift flamethrower, or using gasoline, or using whatever it is that you have. I've heard all of the things from all of the people here in the gun community and people that are against the gun community. The amount of people that tell me, you don't need that, just use this thing or that thing or the other thing to defend yourself. If you have to defend yourself. Or they'll tell me, hey, you only have guns because you're not strong enough to defend yourself otherwise. And I'm like, well, I'm a pretty big burly dude, and I think that I can kick your ass, but I don't think that Granny over there, who's 4'8" and 100 pounds, I don't think she'd be able to do it. I'm not going to knock her for being weak at 87 years old, but I am going to teach her how to shoot a freaking .22 long rifle, so if you decide to cause her trouble, guess what? She's going to put you into the dirt faster than I'm going to put you into the dirt. And boy, oh boy, that right there is the mindset that people should have. I work at a company that is, the company openly says, hey, nobody can carry guns. There's certain speculations, like there's areas where you're allowed to have them inside of your vehicle due to certain state laws and whatnot. But for the most part, the company I work at, they're like, nobody can have any sort of CCW on you at all. You're just simply not allowed to. If you're caught with it, you'll be prosecuted and fired, and just you'll lose your job, you'll be terminated, and just insert your corporate nonsense here. I work for a bigwig company, right? But whenever I was doing one of the seminars about the company talking about mass shootings, because that's just what they do, they like spreading the propaganda and fear and giving people the idea to go out and commit mass shootings. And that is how the political narrative is simply being driven right now. Hey, this is a terrible idea, so we're going to tell you all about it, and we're going to tell everybody that this particular place is completely unarmed. So whenever I was going through the seminar, they were talking about alternatives to firearms that you can use to protect yourself in the event that there is a mass shooting. And I just kind of scratched my head, and I'm like, okay, hold on. So you don't want us to have guns to prevent violence, but you are okay with us doing violence on this person who decides to do violence. So if somebody decides to do violence, they're going to do violence, and they're not going to listen to your policies as to whether or not you should bring guns. And in order to have us avoid violence, you want us to not have guns, but you also want us to defend ourselves with violence against this person who is doing violence. You guys see where I'm coming at with this, right? So I was doing this seminar, and they were talking about how to defend yourself. And one of the options that they gave us was, you know, grab yourself a random makeshift weapon, some sort of hard, heavy object, and use that to attack the person who is doing the dirty deed, right? And whenever this was going on, I just kind of scratched my head, and I was like literally one of the photos that they showed us was somebody holding like a can of fucking fruit, right? One of those huge ass cans of fruit or beans or something like that. And I just kind of asked myself, it was insane. They were all right with me bashing someone's skull open with a can of beans, but if I used a gun to defend myself, that was a step too far. And wow, that was it really is insane. I'm trying not to go on a tangent, trying not to ramble on the same subject over and over and over. But these people they're just fine with violence. In fact, a lot of situations they encourage it. They promote it in many, many situations, but the instant that you use gunpowder to propel a projectile at a certain velocity to defend yourself, guess what? That is a step too far. And speaking of gunpowder propelling a projectile at a certain velocity, a lot of people will want to, you know, get rid of firearms like this right here. This is a KP-15 lower on a PSA upper, and it's like an M16 inspired build. A lot of people give me a lot of flack for this thing because they don't like the way it is. Hey, guess what? This is my rifle, not your rifle, so I can enjoy this as much as I want. But a lot of people will, if they're in this community, they will absolutely foam at the mouth with me owning something like this. But if I show off something like this right here, hold on, I got this against the tree. If I show off something like this right here, this is a 8mm Mauser Yugoslavian 24-47, they'd be fine with me owning something like this, but not something like this, despite the fact that this right here is dramatically less powerful than 8mm. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and I'll pull out my round here. This little thing right here, that's the 223. This right here is the 8mm, and there is a significant size difference between those two cartridges. Well, they're fine with me owning this right here and sending lead down with this right here because it's wood and steel and it doesn't look scary and whatnot. But the instant I break out something like this, those same people who are fine with me owning the 8mm Mauser, they're like, oh my god, you can't own that, or you shouldn't own that, or insert your choice of anti-gun rhetoric here. The hypocrisy between that group is absolutely insane. They're the same kind of people who decide to themselves, hey, you are doing this unsafely, I'm gonna kick your ass, or you are doing this in a means that I don't like, but I also preach like love and tolerance, and everybody needs to be openly tolerant to absolutely every decision that everybody makes, unless it is a decision that I disagree with, in which case, man, hell hath no fury. Buckle up. We have seen those people do some really terrible things all across the United States, like all the way down to burning down entire cities. I have no idea how many rounds I have inside of this M16. Let's find out. Send a couple of rounds downrange. I know it's not a full mag. Oh boy. Apparently I had 3 rounds inside of this. I thought that I had more. Well, since I only had 3 rounds inside of this thing, let's go ahead and send some 8mm rounds through my Yugoslavian Mauser here. That M16, lightweight, 223 doesn't recoil a whole lot. But this 150 grain full metal jackets, this is Turkish ammunition from this Yugoslavian Mauser, this is going to recoil a significant amount more. This right here should be traveling at about 3,000 or so feet per second, and that 223, that was 55 grain projectiles from that M16, that being steel case, maybe about the same, about 3,000 feet per second. So this is a 3 times heavier bullet, which is dramatically larger, traveling at about the same velocities. That is a very hefty weight, a very hefty, powerful round going downrange. And a lot of people would be fine with me having something like this, sending down a tremendous amount of heavy lead. Oh, dude, I absolutely nailed that steel target. That was awesome. They're fine with me sending down this heavy, bulky 8mm Mauser ammo, but 223 is just too much for me. Ah, man. That steel, I can see it slowly sagging down. I normally keep a bunch of stuff in front of the steel to kind of hold it up onto the car. But yeah, that's not really working out anymore. I got one more round left of this, though. Oh, I stood it back up. Oh, you're lucky I don't have any more ammunition. I'd send you back down to the dirt where you belong. I hit the steel and it stood back up. Okay. Alright. Don't go on a tangent. Don't go on a tangent. I think I've already said everything that I wanted to say here, so thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next episode. I'm gonna go drink some whiskey and watch Band of Brothers. I will see y'all on the next video. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen.
a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.